Growing up, when I played basketball, I played with my dad until I was about 12. I became one of the top high school players in the country. Ended up going to UCLA. Got injured, finished my career in Germany and then Australia. I was making a lot of money before I got injured. When I got injured, the money just was never the same. I had a girlfriend at the time. I had my son. I had child support. All this stuff on my head. I had an argument with my child's mother about seeing my son. She was like, "I'm taking you back to court." After that, I went to the liquor store right by my house and got a drink. The next day, still stressed about that, I got another drink. And that's how it starts. The stress in your life, in your head, just makes you want to have some kind of release. I was stopping by the liquor store every day, and it just spiraled real fast. During that time, I was deeply depressed. I was mad at the world. I was mad at God. I was mad at myself. I was mad at my friend. And my mom, she had a bunch of like these old butcher knives. So I grabbed the knife and I'm sitting there drinking. And right when I'm about to do the deal, my mom walks in and then she runs to me and just slaps the shit out of me. And she just immediately starts crying. It was the most dramatic experience to kind of wake me the hell up.
Hey everybody, this is Will Gordon from the Willpower Podcast, briefly coming on before this next excellent episode to remind you all that did you know that 76%, you heard that right, 76% of you that follow my content regularly have not subscribed to my channel yet, and I'm really wondering why that is. So if you could, the easiest and freest way to help support my show is to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of it. Like it, share it, send it to people that you think it might help. Because that's what I'm doing here. I've been through it. I lost my liver. I lost my kidney. I had such a severe alcohol addiction that I feel you. Okay. I understand what you're going through. And I'm really hoping that these stories are helping. So if you want to hear these stories keep coming, then please hit that subscribe button. It'll be the best decision that you'll ever make. Thank you so much for supporting me. And I really hope you enjoyed this next episode. I heard it was a pretty good one. Take care, everybody.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Willpower Podcast. Today, I'm really thrilled to have on Travis Reed. Travis Reed and I did an episode already. However, that episode kind of fell apart just due to losing the signal, not having the Wi-Fi correct, all that wonderful stuff that goes into recording podcast and technology. But Travis, thank you so much for coming back on the Willpower Podcast with Will Gordon. I'm so pumped that you came back, man. I really am.
Well, no problem, Will. Like, I felt kind of bad, honestly, just because of the situation. Like it was a last minute thing for work, and I was like, well, I'm gonna just try it and see how it goes, and I knew that the signal might come in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, but we got it, man. We finally figured it out, right?
yep.
So for people who don't know about Travis, so Travis is a former professional basketball player. He played 10 years overseas, 7 different countries. He's been an MVP, he won championships. He grew up in South Central LA. You were a military brat, I believe. You went to UCLA for a year, I think. You went to Long Beach State, alum. You overcame post-retirement depression and substance abuse through prayer, family, and your son's inspiration, man. So if you could, Travis, how are you? Thank you so much for coming on the Willpower Podcast. And let's get into it, buddy.
No problem. Well, I mean, you did an elegant job of kind of describing everything. I went to UCLA for 2 years, graduated from Long Beach State.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, and like I said, I played overseas 10 years.
Yeah.
Blessed to do that.
Impressive.
Yeah, growing up at a time when I played basketball, AAU was just starting to get to like to its peak kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so back then it was about, I'm just rewinding back. Back then it was about 5 teams that you could play on AAU. Now it's like 1,000. So it's a little bit watered down. But when I was playing, like I played with my dad until I was about 12 at a Boys and Girls Club, and then we played in we played in the league where a lot of AAU teams played in. So I did really, really good, and I played against pretty much all the competition at my age group, and at my age group, it was pretty much, we had guys like Baron Davis who played in the NBA. I personally played with Jason and Jaron Collins. They played in the NBA for, decades each. Baron was a 2-time NBA All-Star. If you know California basketball, you know a guy by the name of Shea Cotton. Is probably he's a California legend. One of the biggest names in California history growing up.
Mhm.
And like I said, right above us was guys like Paul Pierce, playing in the NBA, Toby Bailey, like Ed O'Bannon, Charles O'Bannon. It was so many guys that came in that around that area, during that time at Victoria Park. Shout out to Izzy Washington, God rest his soul. That you would see like, man, like that was the biggest collection of just like youth talent, that we probably ever seen. So fast forward, to that, obviously I became one of the top high school players in the country. Ended up going to UCLA, part of the #1 recruiting class in the country with Baron Davis, Earl Watson, Billy Knight, Rico Hines. Pretty much didn't finish at UCLA, went to Long Beach State, graduated from Long Beach State, then immediately went overseas to Bogota, Colombia, first place. And like I said, I ended up in Holland. But like I said, it's a long story. And from Bogota to Holland. I don't know if your fans have that much time, but ended up in Holland, played in Holland for about 4 years. Left Holland, went to Estonia. And like I said, in Holland, I was a champion. I was MVP. I was statistical player of the year, multiple time champion in Holland. And then I went to Estonia, won championship, was MVP of the league. They call it the Baltic League, which is the MVP of 3 leagues of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. I won MVP of the league of that Baltic League. I was one of the top players in all of Europe, in my opinion.
Oh, you definitely were.
Yeah.
A quick Google search will prove that.
Yeah, I was one of the top players in all of Europe. And, like I said, I played in Estonia, got injured, came back, went back to Estonia, went to Romania first, then came back to Estonia. Then finished my career in Germany and then Australia. In the midst of that time, I had a son, by the name of Travis Jr. And after I had him, my focus wasn't as on basketball and it wasn't just laser minded. It was more, my mind started drifting in the way, started thinking about him more and more. By the time he was about 3 years old, I was like, you know what? I did 10 years. I'm happy I've done 10 years. It's just time for me to kind of hang the boots up. Even though I probably was like, I kind of wanted to still play, but it was only for the right price.
Yeah.
And after I got injured, kind of long story short, and like I said, I apologize if I'm rambling.
Don't worry, man. This is good.
Yeah. I was making a lot of money before I got injured. A lot of money, not millionaire status, but high hundreds, right? And when I got injured, the money just was never the same after I got injured, so like I went from making, 25, 30,000 a month to making 3,000 a month, basically starting from the bottom again. And that's where the depression comes in because, after I was retired, but kind of forced to retire because of the deals, I just didn't know what to do with myself or how to deal with myself because of, my mindset was so focused on ball for 28 straight years.
Absolutely, Travis. Well, thank you so much for that intro, man. I really do appreciate that, and everyone now gets to understand who you are a little bit better. I was wondering, Travis, could you tell us a little bit about like what that was like post retirement and what kind of issues arose in your life?
Sure. Pretty much with myself, it was this, like when I retired, I was 33, right? And well, kind of forced. Like I said, I was kind of halfway in, halfway out kind of thing. About to get a job and then they'll fall through, about to get a job and then the team goes a different direction, just like life. And so I was just, like, I'm so like, okay, what I'm going to do. I had a girlfriend at the time, I had my son, I had child support, I had just all this stuff on my head. And we're not saying, like I said, it was, like terrible, but yeah, when you got a lot of things on your head and you got responsibilities to take care of,
Real world problems.
just real world problems and you're stressed. So I'm working out and I remember this like it was yesterday. I had a argument with my child's mother about seeing my son, a big argument. And after that, she was like, I'm taking you back to court. And we just went to court last year and like she was like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. you're a bad father in a way, you know? And I remember that, and it was just like, it really, really hurt me,
Yeah.
So I was really doing the best that I could. So I remember that day, I went to the liquor store right by my house and got a drink. And then the next day, I'm still stressed about that. I got another drink, you know. Then then I was at another. And that's how it starts. You just, the stress in your life, in your head, just makes you just want to have some kind of release,
Mhm.
And so for me, in some ways, it was that because I didn't want nobody to know I was drinking like that. I was trying to hide it the best way I could.
So, like, was it becoming like a habitual thing, like an everyday thing, or how did it? Tell me about that.
Well, I would say that it started off, like I said, like, a couple of days, and then I would do it because of the stress, because I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh man, I gotta go to court, I gotta find a lawyer, I gotta get all this stuff, in ducks in a row kind of thing, and then like it started off like, once a day, then it was like, okay, so a couple months roll by, cause like, I retired in like September. I mean, I didn't retire, but like, let's just say I came back from Australia in September. Now it's December now, you know, and obviously, money, court dates coming, things like that. I haven't made any money in 4 months. I'm just kind of just really stressing. Now I get pressure from my father, like you should go get a job. You need to get a job. Da da da. I'm like, Dad, I don't know if I'm ready for it. He said, you ain't ready for it. You have a son. And, I'm like, yeah, thanks, Dad. Just pile on the pressure. You got to get ready for court. You got to, just all this stuff. So anyway, to just go back, it was more like, one day turned to one day a week, maybe 1 or 2 days a week turned into like 4 days a week.
Mm.
And then 4 days a week turned into six, and by it, I was stopping by the liquor store getting every day. And then when I got a job, which a job that I hated just to have some money coming in,
Sure.
I really just like doubled down on just the
Yeah.
drinking. So it was like it was more of a situation. Yeah, to kind of get my finances straight
Mm.
as far as just having a job. Like I said, hated the job, hated it with a passion. So I would drink in the morning because it was one of those like night jobs where like you going from like 11 to 7. So you don't really sleep during the day because it's like, you try to sleep during the day, but I didn't have my room. I didn't have no room at the time. I was sleeping on my mom's couch. So everybody in the house is up, awake, doing stuff, making a lot of noise. It's hard for me to sleep. And I go to work at night. I would get a bottle of, it just, E&J, like not the big bottle, but like I think it was like $15 for the little mid bottle E&J, and I would drink that like like a wino. I have the brown bag, paper bag, and
Yeah.
I was at the job I was doing was a lot of sitting, and it was sitting outside. I didn't have an office, so I was sitting outside of my car. So I would just be like sitting in my car, take the couple shots, then the shot of that. And like I said, it just spiraled real fast
Oh yeah.
where, the person I was with, like she didn't know, but like, my family started to kind of, damn, like Travis, your breath smell like alcohol. Oh, I don't know.
So that's terrible, Travis. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But what was the turning point for you? Like, what was the moment? Is there a memory that you can reflect on that was kind of like monumental in your recovery?
I would say this, like during that time, I was deeply depressed. You
Yeah.
know, during that time, I cried pretty much myself to sleep every single night. I was mad at the world. I was mad at God. I was mad at myself. I was mad at my friends. I don't know. I was just mad. I'm mad at my family. I was probably a bit to handle back then at that time, right? Now, I tell people this all the time, at least in my head, like you don't think about suicide, just like, oh, I'm gonna do it. All right, F it. Maybe you have one super bad day, maybe you go, but like usually it's a buildup.
Mhm.
It's a buildup of just terrible, bad thing, a bad thing, a bad thing, a bad thing. And so I remember, like I'm sitting there, like my brother and sisters, they're gone. My mom went to the store or something like that, or, I forgot what she said. I'll be out, whatever, and I'm sitting in the house, I'm by myself. Um, I have, you know, my job sucks. I'm not making that much money at all, essentially. I'm just broke. I'm just so disgusted with myself as a father and a man, right? So, I had been thinking about it, before, like, if I had a funeral, who will come kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And, uh, that day, I'm sitting there and my mom, got, like my God's rest her soul, she had a bunch of like these old butcher knives, you know? So I grabbed the knife, and I'm sitting there with the bottle, like a little bottle of J drinking, and I have the knife in my hand, and I put the knife down, and just like, man, I'm sick of all this. I'm sick of everything. I'm sorry, son. I couldn't make it. You know what I'm saying?
So it really got to that point, huh, Travis?
It got to that point,
I'm
and
so sorry. That's all.
right when I'm about to do the deal, my mom walks in and she's like, "Try it," and then she looks, and then she runs to me and just slaps the shit out of me. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
No, you can swear it.
Yeah.
Go for it. It's a powerful
She
story.
slaps the shit out of me. Boom,
Mhm.
and she just immediately starts crying. Like,
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Yeah.
what the fuck are you doing? Like, you have a son. Da da da. Like, you are not a coward. That
And she's your mother, man. Your mother, like your mother, the person who
Yeah.
cares about you the most, right? To see
Yeah.
you, to see you in that state must have been just
Mhm.
absolutely destroyed her, right?
Yep. Yep. And then she just hugged me and cried for, we both kind of cried for like literally 5 minutes. And I remember, like, she told me, that we wasn't going to discuss this with your brother, your sister, or your father, and we just kind of left it at that. You know what I'm saying? And so it was, it was the most dramatic experience, to kind of wake me the hell up. In a way, to kind of like, you're right. I do have a son, and I don't want him to know me as a coward.
Yeah.
And she said that suicide is a temporary fix to a long-term problem.
Yeah.
So after that, situation, I went to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did you do, like, right after that? I mean, like, how do you I wouldn't even know what to do the next morning I wake up after thinking of that or just me going through the, miming the act of a suicide. I can't even imagine, like, what that.
After that,
Yeah.
I cried,
Yeah.
that night, like, I don't think I slept, because I had to go to work that night, and yeah, uh, my mom called me literally every hour that night. She didn't sleep at all either. You know what I'm saying? She called me every hour that night, and just checking on me, checking on me, checking on me, checking on me. You all right? Yeah, I'm all right, mom. Kind of, just dealing with it. So I remember, like, the following week, my dad told me to go to this job fair,
Mm.
and I had applied to Enterprise, Rent-A-Car, like these other places or whatever, online, but I didn't get it. So I actually went up there to the job fair and I gave them my resume. They sat down and talked to me, and they liked me, and they said, "We're gonna call you." So literally a week later, they called me. They said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna hire you."
Wow.
It was that
What a
fast. It
what
was
a
like boom, boom,
what a
boom, boom.
quick turn of events, right, man? I'm sure on the application that you filled out, like, uh, potentially, ending. I'm not making light of this by any means. I'm just, just trying to, like, I'm sure that they had no idea what you just went through, like, a week prior, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's a lot.
I have a son. I had a son. So like like he can't eat sadness or depression or nothing like that, So it was more like, I was so happy to get to provide for him. And like I said, not Enterprise didn't make that much money. Back then, I don't know what their scale is now, but like to get to, they have to say like, then it was like $42,000 a year, something like that. And like, but to get to that, you got to work 60-hour, weeks, and you have to sell a car. You have to get somebody referred to Enterprise.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's like a bunch of stuff, right? But for me, I was like, I didn't care, because like I literally after that, maybe like I saved up for about 2 months or 3 months, and then I got my own place. And I was like, man, and I was so happy. I was like, like I told my sons about, yeah, bring my son. He about to spend the night with me. I got a place. She was like, okay, okay. Like it was a small victory in the midst of like just the jaws of, the defeat.
Was a victory, Travis. I mean, like when you're in that state of mind, like there are so many horrible outcomes that could potentially lead you, down that path. But
Right.
that this small little win, right? You called it like that's a lot of times I talk to people who are, I do my silver mentoring program, and I talk to them like, don't be afraid to like have the bar low, because you kind of need the bar low when you're just figuring out your life, or you're overcoming some kind of adversity, or you're going through like a severe mental illness issue, like ending your, potentially ending your life, right? Like, or you're considering it even. It's those that low bar is like that first bar, that rung on the ladder that, slowly baby step way, back into whatever life that or direction that you're going towards, that you want to go towards, right? You want to pursue. So it was almost like a blessing in disguise, that job.
No,
Sure.
definitely, I would say it was a blessing in disguise, and it, I mean, honestly, it probably saved my life, just because, I was in such a bad place before that. And pretty much when my mom and me had the conversation, I started to kind of really taper back after the conversation, because she was just like, son, I don't want to see you, anything happen to you. You have the next generation of you. You have the greatest blessing. You have a son that's named Travis Jr., you know, and you have a family that loves you, you know. I was like, I know, mom, but I just feel like such a failure as a man. And like, son, we all go through bad times. Like, it's okay. It's okay. Like you said, it's okay. And so I just she was my therapist. You know what I'm saying?
As moms typically are. Yeah.
Yeah,
And some
she was my therapist, yeah. She was my therapist, and she would my mom was like, obviously, like, typical mom. She was calling and checking on me, telling me she's proud of me, telling me she loves me, telling me, like, just kind of making sure that she knows that I'm loved, you know? And like I said, I couldn't thank her enough, because she saved my life, because I literally and physically, like she saved my life. And, that's why I said, I get emotional talking about my
of
own.
course, man. Of course.
She really, yeah, like without her, you wouldn't see me here right now.
You're open about your struggles, Trav. Okay. So you want athletes to feel less alone. So what's one change you push for in sports to help players' mental health post career? How about that? Post career.
I would say this, like people think of it as a bad thing, right? But they think that you're crazy. Like I think every athlete should have like a therapist, you know?
Yeah.
Like just somebody they can talk to about their problems, and like really, really, really just get into the deep crutch of who they are as a person, man or woman, Because I would say, like, not saying everybody goes through something, but athletes, they go through the regular day to day, and on top of the athlete stuff, so they have to. I would say, like a lot of former athletes, they do it. I had a friend, saying who was a millionaire. Right? As soon as he retired, he needed a therapist, because you just don't know what you are as a person without the sport. It's kind of like, I don't know, like, it sounds bad, but somebody who's like a military guy or went to prison or whatever for 20 years, and all he knows is prison life. He don't know regular life. So like for him to get adjusted, it takes a long time. And some guys just can't take it. They rather just deal with prison life, which sounds crazy, But to him, that's all he knows. And for a guy who's in the military, say he does 20 years in the military, 25 years, and, because he was so dedicated and so like, for his country, maybe he doesn't, and maybe he has kids, but they don't see him. Maybe they got divorced, whatever the case is, like all he knows is the military
Sure.
life,
Sure.
and it's the same with an athlete, I think,
Right.
it's like we have PTSD kind of,
Yes.
to
Well,
where like, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like you really do. I mean, you really do. You go from living one lifestyle to another, and it's a drastic change. It's not just like a subtle change; it's a drastic change in lifestyle, right? So, like, how do you do? Like, who do you become? Like, what are your convictions? What are your morals? Like, what's your character like? Like, all those things that we kind of forget to implement into your life as a younger person, all of a sudden come right to the forefront when when things are kind of going bad for you or challenging for you. So that's a really cool point that you said there, though, Travis, about like having some kind of therapy, accessible therapy, right? You don't have to do the therapy, but the therapist is there, right? And I feel like that is kind of like a trend that we're seeing now more, like mental health being considered
Yes.
on every avenue, whether it be athletics, the corporate world, whatever, right? I feel like that is definitely coming more into play because you hear about mental health in the news, you hear about on, you know, different stations, like whatever, books, everything. It's everywhere. So I think it's more in the spotlight. But when you and I are a couple, we're pretty close in age actually, and but when we were coming up, it wasn't like that. Mental health was looked at it like a weakness, like you know, put it all in your back pocket, man. Like toughen up, to strap up your bootstraps and get to work and hide your feelings, right? So, but that couldn't be further from the truth, right? And that's when really bad problems happen. So now that you're a father, and I mean, now that you're this person and you're a father and you have all these things going on in your life, like what happened with the enterprise? Like what was the next step for you? Like what was the point where things started to get like, wow, this is actually getting better now?
Well, I would say, like I said, when I saved up, at my mom's house for, maybe 2, 3 months, and I had enough money to go get me an apartment,
Yeah.
and it wasn't nothing at the time, like it was a studio apartment, and I was like, I don't care, like this is the
Hey,
spot, this
it's
is my,
it's your spot, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my spot, my place, like I could, like I don't have to. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my family, I love I love my mom, I love my brother, I love my sister, but I was sick of living with them.
Yeah.
And so, being able to have my own spot, and that's kind of like, it was like, okay, and then my son, I set up his little, like at that time, he was like, 6 or whatever the case is. And he had his own little basketball hoop and his playthings and his toy. He's like running around. Like he was like, oh, dad, I'm so happy, because it's just us,
Yeah.
just him and he and him. So, he had a wonderful, wonderful time, with it, and so, like, for me, that made me happy.
Well, that's good. That's awesome. That's awesome that you finally felt better and then things and you could put the booze down for a bit, right? So when you talk about it, I'm actually curious because your son is around high school age, right? So
Yeah.
what do you talk about when you bring it up to him, like about alcohol, drugs, whatever? Like, how do you like bring up that topic to them? Like, I'm just really curious about how you approach it. Yeah,
Well, okay, my son is a curious boy,
sure.
and so
As is a lot of
how long boy, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, he had his own little dumb alcohol experience.
Oh, of course, right.
So, I'm not really a big drinker, but the person I was, dating at the time, she would leave like alcohol at my house so she could always have some, a drink or something while she was here. Um, and it was like the Malibu rum, right? And one of like I had either I think a half a bottle or like 3/4 of a bottle, maybe a little bit more. I don't know, because she had just bought it. So, my son, like he sleeps in the living room, so he'd be next to the TV or whatever. And I'm in my room, sleep. So I get up in the morning because I have to do a 5K early. And so I see a bottle of rum, on the Malibu rum on the table, and it's empty. And so, me being a dad, I punch him awake. Get up. You drunk this? You know, And, oh, damn, you lucky I got a 5K to do. I'm gonna be back and we're gonna deal with this,
Mm.
right? So I get back, he's still like sleep, but he's drunk,
Mm.
right? And I'm like, get up, get up. So I bring him some food or whatever, some breakfast. He throws it up, almost immediately, and
I shouldn't be laughing, but it's. I
no,
mean,
no,
you're
it's
that
funny.
sick. It is kind of funny because it's
It's
like,
funny,
look,
right?
see, yeah, look what
Yeah,
happens,
yeah,
man. You
it's
can't
super
just,
funny.
yeah, it's not just
Yeah,
to get
so
them all
he was
great
like,
times. That
I'm sick, Dad. I was like, yeah, right. That clean this, you're supposed to be sick, dummy. You drink a whole bottle of rum with nothing else, And so, um, he cleans up his, puke, and then he's in the bathroom just laying on the ground, like right by the toilet, basically sleeping. Like, what am I thinking?
you scared him
Get up.
straight. You scared
Yeah.
him straight.
I get up, like, come on, man. And so we go to my dad's house. And my dad has he's cognac and like the dark liquor person. He drinks he doesn't drink anymore, but at that time he did. And so it was like, maybe some cognac or like EJ or whatever. He was like, grandson, you want a drink? You want something to drink, sir, son? Just messing with him.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He's like, no, grandpa, I'm never gonna drink again.
So give us a wild, never told story from your overseas days that cracks you up still.
Ha! Well, I think people, obviously we didn't use the last story.
I know we had so many good ones from the last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just go for my first year in Bogota,
Yeah.
We won a huge game against like the best team in the country at the time. And so the owners come, like I said, and people don't realize in Bogota, Colombia, there is no cops. The military is the police. So for myself and the other Americans, we had armed bodyguards with us at all times. They'd be kidnapping people. Now, like I never really went too far from the hotel. They all put us all in the same like 4-star hotel. So all I would go, it was just to the international phone station and call home all the time, call my girlfriend at the time, my parents, things like that, brother, sister, and just talk, like that. And so um, what happened was like, I remember we won the game. We beat, like I said, the best team in the league. So the owners come and, the owners have like 10 bodyguards, with them because they're rich, for Colombian standards.
Sure. It's a dangerous state. I mean, Colombia is no
I
joke.
would say like the drug dealers
Country.
were the drug dealers were the owners of the teams.
Mm.
So we had two basically dudes who was doing the drugs, not doing drugs, but selling it
Yeah.
out on our team, So they come in and they're like, oh, talking in Spanish because they don't speak no English. Da, 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 we're proud of you, da, 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 this, that, and then 5 women come in, and then another 5, and then another 5, and then another 5. And it's like, before you know it, it's like 20, 25 women there, and we're like, me and the Americans is like, like eyeballs is like,
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I'm straight out of college. I'm still with my college girlfriend.
Yeah. You're being a
Right.
good guy. You're being a good
I'm
little.
like,
good
I'm
guy.
being a good guy, but I'm like, this is eye-opening. This is nuts,
Yeah.
right? Never saw it. Never, like, oh my God. It's like, this is how it is if you play overseas. You know what I'm saying? Like, back with
Oh,
it.
Trav, this is something I actually wanted to ask you. So you've hooped everywhere from Estonia to Australia. What's
Yep.
one life-changing lesson from a culture that you played with that still sticks with you? Like, what's something that you played, like where you played, that still sticks with you to this day?
Oh, good question. I think,
Yeah. Like from their culture that like, you're like, oh, I dig that. Like that's something I can like put into my own life and like I appreciate that kind of thing.
the Europe is very slow compared to the States. So that, for example, for me, in 2 places, I played in France for, like 4 or 5 months. And I remember going to McDonald's in France. And they had like this meal where it's like a Big Mac meal. You get a Big Mac, fries, a drink, a coffee, and a Sunday. So basically, you're going to be there for a while, right? You know, because I'm like, damn, we gave you a coffee, a Sunday, and a you know, and a coffee and a drink. And they was like, yeah, because we just relax. So people, they come, they bring their kids. The kids kind of running around in a little McDonald's play place, and they're there for hours reading the paper, on the computer, talking, whatever, all that, right? And when I got to Holland, it was more of the same. It was really like slow down. Like, so people would like go out to the local tea or coffee place and have a macchiato and just sit there with the little macchiato cups and just drink. And I used to be like, damn, okay. So this is slow down. Okay. Cause I'm from California. I'm from California. So it just, like it's fast paced, right? Super fast. Everybody's on the way to do something. And
I think just America in general is fast.
yeah,
paced,
America
right?
is like just
When you
fast-paced.
travel, it's just it's very different.
California and New York, all these places, everybody's doing something. They're just going to the
Yeah.
next thing. And there they sit and they relax and they just appreciate their time.
I like that.
Yep.
So before you jump off, Travis, it's been a fantastic episode, and thank you so much for coming back on this. I really do appreciate it. So you're building a legacy for your son and others through your podcast. 5 years from now, what impact do you want Athlete's Journey, that's the name of his show, to have made? Like, what's the impact you want, the lasting impact of your show?
The lasting impact, just to know athletes, let athletes know they're not alone. Most athletes think they're alone in their thoughts. Like we're so focused in my focused mindset into where, like we just think we're alone in situations. Like I thought I was alone when I was depressed, and come to find out, it was a lot of my teammates who was in the same boat, millionaire or not millionaire. Where they just didn't know how to handle it. I mean, there's a sore subject for myself that my best friend, he did commit suicide. He slipped through it, because he can make the transition of like, from ball to regular life. And so for me, and that's one of the reasons why I started.
Yeah, was that one of the inspiration? Yeah, that was the inspiration, right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Him and then my son asking me questions about my overseas life. So I just want to add, like, I want my lasting thing to kind of let athletes know you're not alone. Everybody feels that way. And, you can just get help, from whoever, wherever, you think you get help from. If it's, your family, that's cool. If it's God, that's cool. If it's, whatever. If it's therapist, that's cool too. Maybe it's all of the above. I don't know.
Maybe it's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's okay to be, like that's, it's okay to kind of go through the ups and downs of being an athlete.
Yeah. And Travis, before we jump off, thank you again for coming on, but where can people find you if they want to contact you and get in touch?
Well, I this time I left my Instagram name on the screen.
Oh, there we go. Beautiful. Travis W. Reed, everybody.
Yep. It's at Travis W. Reed. I left that,
And that's Travis, W R E E D. Yeah.
Yes, Travis W. Because a lot of people REID. Anyway, that's my Facebook name as well, Travis W. Reed. I post all my social media on both those sites. If you're on LinkedIn, I have my Travis Reed on there too. Also, like I said, I have my YouTube channel. Just type in Travis Reed and Athlete's Journey, even though my Athlete's Journey is my name of my show. But like an Athlete's Journey, just type in that because that was the beginning of it. And then you can click and subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Like I always have new guests. Right now, I am going over, since it's out of the season, I'm going over my first, basically first 5 years of overseas basketball, how the ups and downs of craziness of every year. So right here. So if you want to check that out,
I will.
So feel free to check that out.
Yeah. Well, I will check that out, Travis, and everyone out there, go check out Travis's page and his podcast and Athlete's Journey, because it's fantastic. It really is. I've listened to a few episodes, and it's really funny because they kind of get into some awesome conversations. It's like you feel like you're behind the scenes, like you're the 13th man on the bench or whatever. Right? Like that's how I felt. I felt like I was, felt like that was like the white guy shooting threes in the bottom from the bench. I'll hit one every now and then.
Right.
Oh man. But thank you so much, Travis, for coming on. I really do appreciate it, man. And be on the lookout for many, many more episodes coming soon, everybody. Take care.